What's up, everybody? Ty Bartel in with another edition of Coach's Corner. This time we are joined by none other than Pat Carney from the Badger girls basketball team, also athletic director over there at Badger. Pat, what's up? How we doing, man?
Doing well. How about yourself?
I'm not doing too bad. I'm always excited for basketball season. We're kind of in the swing of things for the girls side of it now. Talk to me about your excitement. Give me a season recap of last year and what you're going to be using as a pivot point into this season now.
Yeah, definitely excited for the new year. I mean, every year brings new challenges. You have a new group of kids. Some returning, some new. We're really looking forward to this year, starting a new journey, and hoping we can just make the most out of it, get better every day, and just continue to improve. I mean, last year, we struggled a bit at times. We had a lot of first-time varsity players. They were playing key roles for us. We hit, kind of a rough patch in the early part of the season. We had a key injury, and some people were put into positions maybe, sooner than they had been in the first place. But that experience that they gained last year, towards the end of the season, we won, I think, 4 of 6 games kind of to close it out before the tournament, and we made some strides. So, we put a good offseason to work in. We have a lot of people returning from last year. So we're hoping to, be much improved this year and to, just compete on a nightly basis and see what happens.
How much of those varsity minutes kind of play out now in the practices this year? How much did you kind of notice that in the way you guys were able to practice when you were able to get the girls together? Did you notice them kind of snapping to things a little quicker?
Yeah, I mean, this is year 3 with this group, a lot of them. So a lot of the terminology, a lot of the things we do at practice, a lot of the things that we focus on, they're used to. So that helps, just that alone. But I really noticed it in the summer. I mean, a lot of our girls put a lot of time in the summer and June working on skills, playing in some summer league games. And we could see then that, they were playing with some more confidence. And, really we challenged them at the end of last season and said, hey, if we want to make the next step, if we want to improve, then it's going to take time in June and July to really, hone our games and try to get better. And then, now that we're here, I think we're starting to see that on the floor a little bit.
Coach, go through this roster a little bit and talk about some key returners, some of the key leadership points you're going to be looking at from this team this year.
Yeah, so letter winners returning from last year. We have Emily O'Brien. She's a junior. She'll be, she lettered last year as a first-year letter winner, one of our main guards. Riley Thomas is another first-year letter winner from last year, one of our post players. Kenley Kirby is another returning letter winner. She's a guard for us. And Avery Rice. Unfortunately, Avery and Kenley right now are not playing. They're kind of working back towards getting back in the swing of things with some injuries. So we're hoping around Christmas time to get those 2 back. Kylie Hall was somebody else who lettered for us last year. That she's a sophomore this year, so we're looking for her to take another step forward. And then we have a couple of newcomers that we anticipate that are going to help us a lot as well. Brindley Rice is a freshman, and Malin Custer is a senior, along with Bree Lendak. So 3 newcomers. Bree played a couple years ago, did not play last year. Malin, this is her first year playing with us. So we have some new pieces, we have some returning pieces. Sarah Miller is another one who we're expecting to get some minutes this year for us as a junior. So we have a pretty decent amount of kids that at any moment we can put in the game. And then obviously we're going to get 2 key ones back, hopefully, sooner rather than later. So
you talk about growth with this team too, and in year 3, I feel like you can now start seeing some growth points in that. Aside from the end result, which is a win or a loss, which maybe a lot of people kind of judge, hey, is this team growing or not? Or maybe stats and saying, hey, maybe are these players growing or not? What are the finer points and things that you're looking at to determine if a player is growing with the team and in the sport?
I mean, obviously, yeah, you can look at stats. You can look at just, individual success. But even further than that, are they having fun? Are they enjoying, being here? Are they truly putting everything they have into this game, every day throughout the year? If they do those things, you're going to see it on the stat sheet. But I think just like the chemistry aspect of it, the girls getting along, having a positive season. And then if you do those things and you improve and you put effort in and you are fully engaged in what it is we're doing here, then at the end of the year, you look back and you probably will win, a decent amount of games. So those are kind of things we look at, and we have great team chemistry. The girls all get along with one another. Many of them have been playing for many years with each other. So it's been fun to see the ones that are here and then some of the new ones we have in, and they're kind of fitting right in. So, hopefully we can have a successful season.
I know with the athletic director role, you get to do a little bit more as terms of hands-on with the sports at the school. For you, what was kind of your strategy though when you did take the girls basketball job to get that buy-in, to create that belief amongst the girls and within the team?
Yeah, I mean, it was a little bit tricky. I had always coached boys basketball, so just jumping to the girls side of things was a little bit different. I mean, it's still basketball, but it's still different than what I was used to coaching the boys side. I knew all the girls because I am at the school here all the time, and I teach the sophomores, so I pretty much knew every player. But when you step into the coach role, it's a little bit different. And my first year was a little bit challenging with that, more than most too, because that was a team that was coming in with very high expectations, and they had already had a lot of success. So that first year, we tried to just the best we could I tried to stay out of the way. I mean, I knew we had a really talented team, and we tried to do a lot of things that I felt that they could be successful doing that they had already done in years past. Last year we lost a lot of seniors, and we had a little bit more of a growing year. But now that it's the third year and everyone is used to my style with my coaching staff, I think that we're kind of coming into our own as far as the type of basketball we want to play, and the girls are fully aware of what's expected and what we need to do to be successful.
You talked about the type of basketball you want to play, what you need to do to be successful. What does that kind of vision of basketball look like for you? What is great basketball, ideal basketball look like in your eyes?
Well, for us, I mean, it starts on the defensive end. We've focused a lot on defense rotations, just individual defense, being at help, being in gaps, just the basic things that everybody talks about. I mean, that's if you watch basketball or you've coached basketball or play basketball, you know those things, but it's just a matter of making it habitual every possession, like not taking possessions off, talking, communicating, just doing the very simple things that everyone knows you need to do, but do it consistently. So we've been really trying to focus on that. We're pretty athletic, so we're trying to, when we get a stop, to try to push it in transition the most we can, to try to create easy looks for us on the other end. One area we want to do better with this year is execution in the half court. I feel like we haven't been very good at that the last couple of seasons, so we're working through some of that. But for us, it starts on the defensive end and maximum effort. I mean, it's just you have to play with full, 100% effort, 100% of the time. We talk about if you just play harder than the other team, you're going to be successful in most of your games just by out hustling your opponent, and that's contagious. I think if you have a group of girls that are playing really, really hard, and the other ones notice it and they get in the game, they just pick up where they left off. So we try to play hard, we try to compete, and whatever happens on the scoreboard happens. If we do those things, we'll be okay with the result.
Take us through the schedule a little bit, Coach. I know you and I have had conversations in the past with this NAC, and it's always a really good small school conference too in the sport of basketball. Take me through what you foresee out of the conference, and take me through some of the non-conference matchups as well that you're kind of excited about with your team facing.
Yeah. So if you're talking about the NAC, Maplewood's the first team that comes to mind. I mean, they are really, really good. Coach Schwartz does a tremendous job over there. They have pretty much everybody returning from a team that went to a district final last year. I don't think they lost a conference game last year, so they are the cream of the crop in our league. If anyone in our league is going to beat them, they're going to have to play a darn near perfect game. Maplewood is really, really good, but we're looking forward to playing them twice because you want to see where you stack up against some of the better teams in the area. I think Maplewood's one of the better teams in any division in the area. Grand Valley's a really good basketball team. They've had a nice couple years. The last couple years, they have some people back. Cardinal, who's new to the NAC this year, they're another team that I'm expecting to be very good. I believe that they made a district final last year, have the bulk, I think, of those players back. But there's also competitive teams all throughout. I mean, Pymatuning Valley, Coach Cole's been around for a long time. He always runs a solid program. Coach Ward over at Bristol, those girls always play hard. They always defend. Those games were always a dogfight. But I mean, everybody. I mean, Wyndham, Matthews. We just played Matthews the other night. There's St. John, Asheville, St. John. There's teams. There's never really a night off. I mean, no matter what. Chalker's another team I think is going to be really good this year. So it's not going to be an easy slate of games by any means. But we'll see what happens. You roll the ball out, you play, and hopefully we can compete and do fairly well in the conference. As far as out of conference, Newton Falls, we play them tonight. Coach Baker's, I have a tremendous amount of respect for him. He's been there a long time, and he's a really good basketball coach. So I know that'll be a tough one tonight for us. We play a couple teams out of the Northeast state. We like to do that to just kind of challenge ourselves by playing some schools that are a little bigger than us. So we play Poland, Niles, and Hubbard. Poland's obviously a premier program in the area. Coach Blanche does a fantastic job over there. They've been a powerhouse in girls basketball for a long time. And we play Liberty later in the year, and we saw them over the summer, and they're making a lot of strides. And I think that they're going to have a decent year this year as well. We saw them in the summertime, and actually we scrimmaged them too. So that should be a good game for us to test us towards the end of the year as we head to the tournament.
I feel like when I've talked with coaches too, I've concluded too, regardless of, yes, you might have different goals in terms of how far we want to make it in tournament, what we want to do in conference, maybe a win mark, right? But I feel like one thing that's consistent amongst all programs is coaches want their team to reach their fullest potential. And that could be different amongst teams. But for you and for this team, what would you say is, I guess, required, or what would you say would need to happen for this team to reach their fullest potential, for you to say they've reached their fullest potential?
I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, I think, we want to obviously win more games than we did last year. We won 9 last year. And I think with the bulk of the major contributors back, or at least a good percentage of them with a couple of newcomers, we're hoping to get more on the win total than we got last year. I always look at end of the year. You play the first couple of games of the season. A lot of times you see teams later on down the year, like, did we improve? If we lost them the first time, can we knock them off the second time? If you win a close game the first game, can you build on that lead the second time? So to me, you're building towards the end of it with the tournament being there. Not every team's going to win a district championship. Not every team's going to win a league championship. But to me, if we play hard, if we improve on our win total from last year, and we give effort throughout the course of the season, I think that would be a successful year for us.
What do you think is something that maybe fans and outsiders don't understand about the full grind of a basketball season and what it's like coaching high school basketball? Because they only get a chance maybe to see you 2 to 3 times a week for maybe 2 hours a night.
Yeah, I mean, it is a long season. It's a physical grind for the players. It is a mental grind for the players, almost just as much as it is physical. And for coaches, the same thing. And it's something that I think I've tried to do a better job of it, as I'm kind of going through each year, is that you have to be patient and you have to understand that it's a process, and you can't be overly excited when you win a game or do something well, and your season's not over when you don't play well in a night, and you just have to take it one day at a time. We try to preach that, go 1-0 every day, whether that's in practice or whether that's in a game. And when we walk out of the gym, we just want to look back and say, okay, what we did today, we can say we improved in these areas throughout. But it is a long season. You have to keep it fun. You have to understand that, middle of the year, those are kind of like the dog days of the season. You have to be kind of smart about what types of practices you're running and how long you're in the gym, and sort of understand that, because it's easy to get burned out, not only as a coach, but player. So you have to kind of be, very intentional on how you're planning everything. But yeah, I mean, when you're at the games and people see the final product, but there's a lot that goes into this. I mean, and every year we try to get better as a coaching staff, just like the girls do, on what it is we want to focus on and what types of things we want to work on as a program.
You talk about the things every year you want to focus on. I know the game is ever evolving. Maybe you kind of change strategies. Maybe there's things that you change and you adapt to, right? What is it? What is kind of like, I guess, your meter? How are you able to determine if something new comes up in the sport, right? If it's a way maybe you practice, or if it's a drill, or if it's maybe a way to approach a game. How do you kind of determine, all right, is that something that's usable? Is that something that's workable versus, okay, that's a load of baloney, that this will never work? Because there's a lot of content, there's a lot of stuff out there. What's kind of your meter for that?
Yeah, there is. I mean, I watch a lot of basketball, so like I'll be watching a game and I'll say, oh, I like that, and then maybe you realize, oh, wait a minute, maybe we don't quite have the personnel to run that, or maybe, hey, we can do this because we have, whatever it is. So I think you almost take it year by year. You look at your team's strengths and you try to build around that and to put them in the, position that can make them the most successful. So that's how we try to plan our practices. That's how we try to plan, our drills and our skill stuff that we try to do. And we just try to be kind of consistent with that. So, I mean, you practice how you play. So to me, if you take your team's strengths and you try to really work on those types of things in practice, so when you get to the game, it just becomes muscle memory. So you can't reinvent the wheel every day. You have to be consistent with your message. You have to be consistent with what is expected. They have to buy in, and then they have to practice that way. And then, the coaching staff, it's our job to make sure that we stay on path. And then hopefully in the games, we're able to see the results on the floor when we play on Mondays and Thursdays.
You mentioned your coaching staff. I want to give you that opportunity to shout out them too, and shout out some other big supporters in your life personally that make these seasons possible and allow you to be able to do what you do.
Yeah, so Ashley Hall's our JV coach again. She's been with me for all 3 years. She's been here, played at Pontotoning Valley, was a really good player up there. Russ Molinado is a varsity assistant. He was our middle school coach the last 3 or 4 years. He's helped us as well at the high school level. Now he is totally with us. He's been a big asset for us. He has a ton of experience, and I try to bounce everything I can off my assistant coaches. I want them to feel like they're just as part of this as me. I don't claim to know everything about basketball, and they're just as important as I am. I mean, I might be the head coach with the title next to my name, but ultimately there's not a decision that's made without talking about it with them. Our administration's great here. Coach Upshire is a big help. He's someone I coached with for 8 years, so a lot of different coaching philosophies and ideas I gained when I coached with him on the boys' side. But everybody here's, everyone here is great. The parents are great. It's just a great place to coach. It's a great place to work. If it wasn't enjoyable, I would not be doing it. And I couldn't think of a better place to be coaching than Badger.
Coach, talk to me a little bit about when you're able to get the full group, coaches and players all together, and you're able to get your practices in order. What's your favorite part about getting everybody together and getting a full squad practice in?
I think just, the energy. I mean, I think that's the one area we kind of have challenged ourselves to have better practices this year. A lot of that, falls on me and to mandate it, to make sure. I mean, I think a lot of times it's easy just to, human nature, like you get amped up for a game, but we try to create practices that are high energy to get them to compete at a high level. It's just great to get everybody together. Like I said, these girls get along. These girls are very coachable. And just to see the improvement and just to get everyone in the gym. It's just a great group to be around. There's nothing better. I mean, I love practices. I love games too, obviously, but when you get them in there, there's a whole bunch of energy, all striving towards that same goal. I know they've been excited for the season for a while, even in September, even in the middle of fall sports. A lot of them were telling me how excited they were to get going with basketball season. So now that we're here, we're in the swing of things. It's obviously early, but it's been an exciting start to the year, and hopefully we can, have ourselves a successful season.
I'm very excited for what this team's going to be able to continue to do with this ongoing season. Like you said, it's early too, but there's a lot of games for you guys upcoming as well too, and it's always a fun night in the conference. My final question for you, Coach, before I let you go, it's a theme question that I'm asking all head coaches this year. It's this year's theme question. I like my themes. And it goes into this being more than a sport, going beyond the sport of basketball a little bit. What moment made you realize, do you have a moment or a time that made you realize this job was more than just basketball?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's not, I don't think it's even just one moment. I think it's just all the time that I've been coaching. When you start coaching, you're like so obsessed with the basketball part, and it's like X's and O's, and we need to do this, we need to do that. And you're breaking down film, and you're like so 100% focused on that. But when you have old players that come back and they come watch a game, or they keep in touch with you, or you see them out somewhere and they come talk to you, it's just those relationships that you build with the players and coaches or whoever else you're affiliated with. That's really, to me, what it's all about. I mean, you want them to have a successful high school experience. Athletics is a great extension of the classroom. It's educational just as much as it is athletic oriented. A lot of life lessons, but just building that camaraderie, making sure the kids are having fun. There's nothing that makes me happier when former players, former students, come back to see us, and you see that they're doing well, and you just hope that you had a small part in that. Whether it's something they learned from you on the basketball court, or something they learned for you in the classroom, or even just a funny story that happened 10 years ago that you probably didn't even remember. But just those moments are, those make you feel good as a coach and as a teacher when those kids come back and you can see that they've made a lot of progress in their life, and they're going into young adulthood, and it's just part of that whole journey that you were part of them with, hopefully was part of building that foundation.
Coach, I mean, I really enjoyed talking with you a little bit about hoops each and every season. I'm excited for the continued growth you're going to see in year number 3 now at the helm with this group too. I think there's a lot of potential with this group, and I'm excited for them to continue to take those steps in development. Best of luck on the continued season, Coach, and we'll be talking to you again real soon.
Hey, thanks, Ty, and thanks YSN for all the coverage and support you give to the high school kids in the area. You guys are great thing that we have going here in our local area. That you do such a good job with giving high school sports the recognition it deserves. So, happy Thanksgiving, and I'll talk to you soon.
All the same to you and yours, Coach.
All right, we'll talk to you. Bye.